Today I want to show you a few tricks that can take your film grain emulation to the next level, but before we can do that, I have to show you how exactly grain works in Lightroom. And for this, I added a ton of grain to that gradient. But as you can see, neither the pure white area or the pure black area have any grain in them, and we can get around this either in the curves panel or inside of a mask by lifting the black point with around 4 points and lowering the white point with something similar. And if you don't want to affect the entire image, make sure to add a few more points in between so you don't disturb the entire contrast in the photo. And just like that, you can see that now we have some grain in the darkest parts of the image and more importantly in the brightest one. And this is super important because grain in the real world is way denser in the highlights than it is in our shadows. And speaking of our shadows, let's create a mask that will drop off the grain amount really fast. As you saw, I'm using a luminance mask and I'm gonna be pushing it just slightly above the pure black level, which is over here. And in this mask, I'm going to drop the grain amount to something like -10 or a bit more. Of course, this value will depend on the amount of grain that you added to your photo before, because we don't want to eliminate all the grain, just tone it down a bit. And for that, I'm moving the leftmost part of my luminance range so the mask is not completely affecting that area. And for the cherry on top of the cake, I'll combine this mask with one that will only affect the super bright zones in the photo, because in those parts, the grain density is so big that we're only going to see details of our subject and not really the grain particles. But if you want your grain to look truly realistic, you should probably check out this video where I talk about my method that uses 3 more masks to add different amounts of grain to the highlights, midtones and shadows. And if that sounds like way too much work for you, you should probably check out my store where I sell grain presets that will do all those things that I talk about in that video over there. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video.